my first question is to you, can we transition, can we change to a more sustainable way of living and make a better life at the same time? I think we can. If we're going to change our world, let's change it to the world that we want it to be. So if we were going to wave our magic wands to change our world, and we can wave our magic wands, this is up to us, every single one of us, what would we change it to? Now, sometimes it's hard to envisage the world that we want to change it to. So I'm just going to show you something that might give you a few ideas for that.
Anything we ever achieved started with someone imagining it first. So if we can't imagine a way out of the climate crisis, it just can't happen. We know that the crisis is getting worse every single day, and many of us are losing hope for our future. But despair is not an option. We must rise up and meet the greatest challenge of our lives with stubborn optimism. And imagining is the first step. So, are you ready to imagine? In this critical decade, the biggest tree planting campaign in history is sucking billions of tons of carbon out of the air. And forests and indigenous lands, they're protected. This is what your city looks like. It's green, everywhere. Streets are pedestrian and kid-friendly. Food growing on rooftops, in car parks, which, by the way, we don't need anymore because we don't own cars anymore. And here's something. Birds. Can you imagine your city as a sanctuary for nature and wildlife? There are solar panels on every rooftop across the globe. Clean, interconnected energy lights every home, every clinic, every school. We no longer choke on the toxic fumes of fossil fuels. It's not hard to imagine. This technology already exists. And what about the millions of new jobs created? Are you picturing it? Really picturing it? Roads? They're green too. Traffic's cut right down. Public transport everywhere is electric, dependable, and free. Can you smell the air? Clean. Farming? All regenerative, which means healthy soil and better food. And we don't eat much meat. Can you imagine what we could do with the third of the world's cropland currently used to grow animal feed? Here's something to imagine. Fields of seaweed, miles long, grown in oceans that cross the planet. They draw down billions of tons of carbon, restore sea life, and guess what? They're a limitless source of protein-rich food. And we can do so much more. Rewild our land, protect our cities from rising sea levels, restore coral reefs. These things we're imagining, they're all possible now, just with technology that's available today. We are the last generation that can prevent catastrophic runaway climate change. We cannot give up. Anything we ever achieved started with someone imagining it first. This is the decade to make this imagined future happen. Share this video and help those around you have the courage to imagine it too.
So it's time for us all to start imagining. And some people think that this has to be a hair shirt process, that it's all about loss. What actually it can be about is gaining greater connectivity with each other, greater cooperation. We have an epidemic of isolation and loneliness in our communities. We have an epidemic of mental health issues in our communities. This is about reconnection, not just reconnection with each other, it's reconnection with nature, it's reconnection with other beings, it's reconnection with our communities, it's connecting with our businesses, and helping us all work together so that we all can thrive and that we can all win. People sometimes talk about win-win or win-loss. This can be win-win for all of us. And it's down to our own imagination and our ability and desire to work together and connect. And we don't know all the answers already, but we've got ideas. So, and one thing also, as we change our world, let's make it accessible at the same time. My wife's disabled. Many of you will live with people that live with disabilities. If we're going to change it, let's make it accessible for everyone. And let's make it inclusive for everybody as well. So it isn't just about cutting the carbon. It's about what life do we really want? What communities do we really want? How do we really want to live? And we all have one of these. I know you might not know that you've got one, but you have. There is one for every one of us. It's just up to us how we choose to use it. We've got the Climate Action Project, which is the start, really, of pulling people together from across Wellingborough to see how we can help each other. We want to work as individuals, as community groups, as businesses, local authorities, to start answering some of the questions that people have put today and to start facing and working through some of those challenges. The project has started off with these conversations, and then after that we're looking to help people understand more about the carbon situation. So we're helping people, business, community groups that can go on carbon literacy training. That's something we've been looking at. We're going to hold a range of workshops around specific topics, like, for example, how to heat our homes in a renewable way, using renewable energy, how to generate power using renewable energy. We're going to look at transport and how we get around. Can we do that using renewable sources, or just changing the way we work and we live? So a lot of people, I feel personally that a lot of people have got a desire to act and desire to change things, but many of us just don't know where to begin. And what this project will be is about helping each of us to start that process of beginning, holding hands in that process together throughout the year to come up with solutions. I'm delighted that we've got some really good organisations in our community that we can go for advice and support, and then they can come and help us to support what they're doing. It's great to hear from our friends at Electric Places. I mean, I'll be queuing up to not only suggest project ideas, but also to draw in colleagues from Electric Places to help us to think, because we have got to work out the transition plan for ourselves to do it together. We need to do that together. So we'll be doing those specialist workshops. We'll be doing workshops about food growing sustainably, how to look at home insulation and various other things, the things that we've been thinking about. We saw the floods in Wellingborough. That can happen again at any point. So how do we, as residents or as businesses, put adaptations in? Ed talked about earlier that the changes in temperature have gone so far now that some of those impacts they're not reversible. And we just have to learn how to live with those impacts. So if we know that it's going to rain a lot all of a sudden, can we change our infrastructure personally in our own homes or in our communities to cope with that better? So this is about getting savvy and upskilling ourselves and making ourselves aware. Okay, so there's lots of different workshops we're doing, and then after the workshops we'll be coming together and doing practical actions together following them. So if people are interested in how you do renewable energy in your home, well, maybe we can work together to see how to make that happen, or renewable transport, or green food, or whatever we want to focus on.